All right. We got music today.
Yo, the classic golden hour soundtrack.
That's right. I'm controlling it here with my little soundboard.
Ew, that's kind of neat.
So yeah, we used to have the Rode caster thing, and now I'm using the old MacBook. We're progressively making this easier for ourselves.
Yep. Eventually, we'll get rid of all the cameras, and it'll just be audio.
Just pictures of us cutting.
Yeah, just little cutouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Smooth, right?
Yeah, I missed the music, man. That's crazy.
Control that right there. So
Oh, nice. Faded out.
you like that?
I did. I really liked it.
So, hey guys, what's up? I'm Dave Mays, and we got
I'm Connor McCaskill.
Connor McCaskill. This is the Golden Hour podcast.
How many have we done now?
GHP.FM.
Is this 3 now?
This is our 4th
Wow.
in this format.
We're just on a roll, guys.
Episode 164 of total shows. That's counting all the ones that I did with Polar Pro, but now it is our show.
That's right. It's ours now.
So yeah, last week we had a great episode with Eric Walker.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guest.
I listened to it. It was you guys had a good conversation. Yeah, all about the C70.
Yeah, C70, which is now the Dave cam over here. Hello. We've got the C300 original as our main wide, and then we've got the old
R5.
R5, which at some point also I should just sell everything and just buy 2 R5s, and then we'd have 3 R5s. And
True. Or we should buy things.
But that would be awful because
without,
the cutoff limit.
Yeah, the record limit is definitely an issue.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some cameras to talk about today. We got some rumors.
Lots of rumors, actually.
But first, I do want to address. I have a new video out on my channel. It's called "I Almost Ruined My Best Friend's Wedding."
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. It's full of hijinks. David ends up recording a wedding on what camera were you using?
The Sony ZV-1.
Yeah, not exactly a great camera for weddings.
Not at all.
Not at all.
It's actually a terrible camera for weddings. I'm gonna go over to my my channel.
Yep.
I've also I didn't know if I want to announce this.
No, don't announce it yet.
But yeah, so you can see it here. It's got a really nice thumbnail that was designed by my friend Dill Toma, who, if you are in the YouTube thumbnail Twitter sphere, he's pretty well known in that world. He edited this one and my last one. I am trying something different in our niche. I still want to appeal to the audience that I have, but I'm also trying to evolve into a new format and find new audiences. So this one really is kind of a story-based episode. Story about my friend Brittany, who I've known since I was like 6 years old or something like that. Over 20 years we've known each other, which is crazy. She asked me to shoot her wedding, and of course I said yes.
But there's a catch.
But I said to her, I was like, you have to, like, I'll do it for free because she's a family friend, but can I please shoot a YouTube video like during this shoot? And Connor came with us. Laura and myself, my wife Laura, filmed it, and then Connor filmed the behind the scenes, which was edited into this story here.
Yeah, I had the old C70 on an easy rig.
Yeah. I did see somebody comment, why is the BTS camera better than the main camera?
Yeah. It really was. Although eventually at a certain point, because things started to get a little dicey in the video, if you go watch it, be sure to check it out. I ended up shooting some of the wedding too.
Yeah.
Started to get a little more serious at the end.
Yeah, seriously. It was a lot of fun to put this together. It's a different format than what I'm used to, and I think this is going to be just a long-term. I kind of came to the conclusion that I have found the job that I love. I love being a YouTuber, and beyond gear reviews, I love being an entertainer specifically. And I've always been banging my head on the wall about, like, should I just do entertainment? Should I just do camera gear?
Yeah.
And I think this is sort of,
it's a beautiful blend.
it's leading into what I think is what I want to do, which is a blend.
Yeah, absolutely.
A blend of the two. So in this video, I kind of educate people on lighting, on, camera movement, on how to make something bad look good.
Right.
But then it's also, I've also, to be honest, I cut a lot of things out that I did say, like, this is the Black Pro Mist filter and this is the adapter I used. And I was like, honestly, mass appeal wise, like, people don't care about that.
No, not necessarily.
So what I'm thinking of doing is, because I do have 2 channels now, this one, my main channel, and then a review channel. I may be able to do like a BTS on the review channel or something. So even for this video, I'm kind of moving on from this video. I think this was a great kind of little test run.
Absolutely.
I think we made this very much before I had a lot of this kind of vision. So it was a little bit trying to make it work. I think if we did this again, I'd have it more planned out and more thought out in terms of blocking and scripting and things like that.
Right. A little more pre-production, a little more sure.
A little more pre-pro.
Yeah.
And also, I don't think shooting it on a bad camera necessarily has to happen. Like, I could just shoot on a normal camera and tell a good story.
Or even a really expensive camera.
Or a really nice camera. Obviously, I shot an entire wedding on the iPhone, would probably perform well.
Probably perform very well.
Yeah. So stuff like that. But please check it out. It would mean the world to me if you did and left a comment. It didn't perform super well. And I think it may be a little just outside of my audience.
True.
So
it could be that
I noticed there's a huge drop off when I look at the analytics on this, about 30 to 40 seconds in, and it's before I get into
the actual video.
So like, I've lost almost half of the people at like a minute.
Right.
And you can see I'm still deliberating on things.
Right.
So hindsight, maybe I should have just gone into it a little bit faster.
Sure.
And then I don't even tell the audience until 1 minute and 46 seconds that I'm going to have it done by the end of the night.
Right.
But the good thing about this graph is that it isn't a just drop down completely. Like, once I get people to watch at least 3 minutes, they seem to stick around to the end.
Right.
But this is by the way, if you're not watching the video, I'm looking at my analytics. So if you want to look at my back end of YouTube.
Oh yeah, this is an audio format, isn't it?
But you can see on the retention graph that I just have lost the majority of the audience and I only have 30% left and they watch to the end. If you look at a Mr. Beast graph, it's like he has a dip here, but then it stays like at like 60, 50% all the way to the end.
Wow.
Which is ideal, obviously.
Right.
So
inevitably you're going to have a drop off right at the beginning because people click on videos and they didn't mean to. They immediately click away or whatever. That's normal. But
I'm losing half of my audience though 30 seconds in.
Right.
And so I just had a hard time trying to figure out the story because I did want to tell this story of like I ordered an expensive camera and then I was trying to shoehorn like, how do I fit these bad cameras in?
Right.
Because we didn't have the foresight. It was just like, I just am shooting it.
Yeah.
There was no reason why I did.
Although that could have been the reason because we can.
I guess I should. Yeah. I mean, I could have just thought of that. Yeah. We should have talked about it.
Yeah, it's okay. There's the next one.
There's always the next one.
Absolutely. And then you did something else last week. You went to Vidsummit.
I sure did.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So Vidsummit 2022 happened this last week in Los Angeles. And Vidsummit is kind of like VidCon, except better and more focused specifically for YouTubers.
Right.
I don't think there was a single like TikTok creator or like, I think there was maybe a Facebook person there, but, and there was a guy who used to work for Instagram that had a lot of insight into Reels, but, it was really a YouTuber conference. It's owned by Daryl Eves, who wrote a book called YouTube Formula, and he has billions of views under his belt, and he's started many, many channels with over 1 million subs. Then of course, Mr. Beast is co-owner as well.
Naturally.
And Sean Durez, which is also another big creator, and he owns Space Station, which is it's a big YouTube kind of agency that a lot of our friends actually work with.
Right.
So it was amazing, and I don't really know where else how much you guys are interested in hearing all the details, but I'll share some of my little nuggets and some of the best moments.
Share the highlights. So
first off, if you've been watching YouTube this year, there was a guy who really blew up. His name is Ryan Trahan. And, I think a lot of our audience may be in the camera gear space, so they may not have discovered him.
Right.
I think if you're an artist or you have any interest in YouTube, you should study and look at what he did this year. He did a series called penny across America in 30 days. And he literally started in California with a penny. And the concept is he trades up, and as he trades things up, he buys flight tickets to go to the next state, and then he does tasks to make money. So it's a very like scrappy kind of self-employed idea of like, sir, will you trade this penny for a pen? And then he gets a pen, and then he's like, sir, would you buy this pen for $1? And he gets $1. And then it's like, could I buy a water bottle? I'm selling a water bottle for $2. I'll have 2 water bottles, $2 for a water bottle. Like he literally just starts with a penny and trades all the way up to maybe like 50 to $100 each day. And then he'll use that money to buy a plane ticket or a bus ride. And it's a great idea. But he basically created he really kind of took what Mr. Beast has done, which is have a good concept and a good retention-based story. Retention as in you want to watch to the end to see if he accomplishes the goal. Right. But he spread it out over 30 days, and each video itself had its own retention goal. And there was all sorts of dips and turns. Like if somebody, he was also, it was also a fundraiser for Feeding America. Right. And he raised millions of dollars for that. And there was incentives. Like if you donate a certain amount, he would have to start over from 1 penny. And so, Mr. Beast did that like twice, where he forced
Mr. Beast did it.
Yeah, he was
no shot.
Yeah, he was like, I want to see your reset, Ryan. Here's 50 grand. He donated 50 grand to, or I think it's 10 grand. If you donate more than $10,000, he would reset.
Wow.
But it's all donation based. Like Ryan didn't keep any of that. It was like purely for this purpose.
It goes for the charity.
That being said, he has made, I think, like $300,000 to $400,000 a month off of just ad revenue.
Wow.
From the series. But he spoke. He was the first speaker of the event, and it was really amazing to hear him speak because he just has a great positive message. Right. And he basically said, throughout the years, I have followed other YouTubers. I've always wanted to be a YouTuber. And I just mimicked what I saw, and I realized that it's a type of content that was popular in the past, and he's like, hopefully isn't anymore, but will always probably exist, which is exploitative content, an exploitative creator, meaning pranks or getting a lot like material items and talking about I bought a Ferrari, or whatever.
Right. Exploiting the audience or people in the video. Or
even Ryan himself had a reaction channel, and he would just find funny things and make fun of it. Right. And it's sort of exploiting, circumstances that may be bad, somebody getting hurt. Then again, AFV and stuff like that. That's all exploitive as well. And people are usually willing to
except people submit that. So
yeah, and I think it can be done. I think all that stuff can be done tastefully, but it's really just the overall kind of posture of the content. And he said last year he completely shifted his focus to make it redemptive content, is what he said. So he wants to learn a lesson throughout the story, or someone else learns a lesson, or like there's a change.
Like a moral.
Yeah.
Nice.
There's like an actual moral to the story. The viewer can come away feeling like, oh man, yeah, I feel really good about that. Like, man, that guy makes me feel great. Like I need to be more positive, or I need to be more confident, or whatever.
Right.
And it totally changed his whole channel. And that was really his main message, is like, we need to be focusing on creating redemptive content. And as a Christian myself, he's using these words, the toil of exploitive content.
Very Christianese words.
Yeah, I was like, this guy is totally a believer. And sure enough, he is. And I got to meet him, and just very briefly, but I just told him, I was like, hey man, I know you're a believer. I also am. And like hearing you be just super open about it and talk about it at your level is just super encouraging. And it's awesome that God is using you to like share this message with other creators and kind of like influence YouTube in a positive way.
Right.
And anyways, it was really inspiring to hear him talk. I just wanted to share that because basically his series garnered the same amount of views as Mr. Beast's biggest video in total.
Right.
So Mr. Beast, and he showed a graph, and it was inspiring because the difference in amount of money spent is like dramatic. So Mr. Beast spent over $3 million on the Squid Games video.
Right.
There's about 500 contestants and a whole crew.
Yeah.
It took him 2 months to edit it and create it, and he got 240 million views.
Right.
Which,
that's awesome.
well done.
That's amazing. That is truly
Tip of the hat to you, sir.
Good job, sir. Not too bad. Okay, we can improve those numbers.
But Ryan, he's like, I'm not trying to slam on Mr. Beast. This is just for reference and to hopefully inspire you guys.
Right.
You know, my Penny Across America series took a month because it was a daily vlog and it happened in 30 days, and it cost a penny.
Technically, I'm sure it costs more, but yes,
he paid his he had one editor and one shooter, so I'm sure they have a salary. And,
salary and then food and travel.
So
but
we're talking about maybe $10,000.
Sure,
total,
sure, which is still way cheaper.
Yeah, and you know all 30 of his videos, when you tally up the views, it's 220 million views, which is nuts.
That's crazy.
So he is like, if you think about CPM and like ad revenue and stuff like that, I don't know how it would work. He may make a little less because it's spread out over multiple videos, or not. He may be making equal money in terms of ad rev compared to Mr. Beast.
It might be comparable. It's just the CPM, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows what they are?
They're both clean creators. They don't have any like garbage in their content.
They're very advertiser friendly, so it's probably pretty high.
Yeah. So that was real inspiring to me because it was just a really good idea with good execution. That's all it was. And I think a lot of YouTubers now have kind of unfortunately fallen into Mr. Beast is like spending $3 million on a video.
Plus,
how can I compete with that? You know, I'll never get to that level. And I don't even think, and another thing that Ryan said that was real inspiring too, is he says he views every video he makes as a gift. He's like, it's just a mind shift thing. He's like, it doesn't mean I'm not working hard and not trying to get a lot of views. It's just by shifting my focus on this video that I'm making is actually a gift to the audience.
Right.
Then I'm able to remove my identity from the success of the video. And whether it does well or not, I made it as good as I could. It's a gift to the audience. If you enjoy it, I'm really happy you enjoy it. If you don't, you know,
that's okay.
That's okay. Cause it's a gift. Like take it or leave it, you know? So anyways, his talk was real inspiring. Matthew Beam as well, who's a creator that surely a lot of you guys have never even heard of or seen. But he had 100,000 subs last year at Vidsummit. He met some people at Vidsummit, and then he spoke this year on stage, and he has 2.1 million subs, and his videos are getting, you know, averaging between 1 to 3 million views per video.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. And he has worked for over 10 years to get to this point and just kind of reverse engineered YouTube. I know Hayden Hillier-Smith is working with Matthew to help with his storytelling. He just doesn't, you know, he didn't grow up in the filmmaking world. So a lot of these YouTubers, as when we watch their content, you can kind of feel like this is cringy and weird. And it's because they're making videos that are purely based on science. It's like, every word that Mr. Beast is saying is engineered to keep you watching to the end. Right. Without any regard for story. Like ultimately, I think that is changing and there's a bit of a shift. I've heard Jimmy, who's, you know, Mr. Beast, say that he is working on figuring out how to tell better stories. I know Hayden is really pushing for that. He had a great talk as well about story, and he kind of just broke down like Pixar's method and how we can apply that to YouTube content.
Right. I like that.
With my video here, I almost ruined my best friend's wedding. I tried my best, you know, to tell a good story with also keeping YouTube kind of in mind. Yeah. And that's why I was excited to do this one, because this girl that's the bride, she really is a legitimate friend. So there's actually there's a real
you're not just making up the story for the most part. You made up the Arri Alexa part.
I made
that part was made up. But the fact that you're friends and you're shooting the wedding for free, and if you did mess it up, she probably would have been pretty mad at you. Maybe not disown you. You know, you got played up a little bit, but
and also the kind of sitting on the couch scene, we did film that after the wedding. Yeah, because I was like, I really need like just some really good drama. Right. And I think that was our first take, because I've never worked on a reality TV show or anything like that. I know our friend Jeffrey has done a couple, and Jevin used to work for on I think he did the motorcycle one in California. What's the one with the hot rod? I believe.
Shoot, yeah, I couldn't tell you. I'm not a big reality TV
but it was like
fan,
but
that's cool.
Big like History Channel.
Roadhogs.
Yeah.
Is that right?
No, that's a movie.
It's also a character in Overwatch.
But that was our first taste of kind of reality TV, and like reality TV, they engineer moments, but then the reason it's called reality is because people do react.
Yeah, they're creating
in real
situations,
life. But the situations are all created,
and they're usually ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. So that was our kind of taste of reality TV when we did that. But anyways, be on the lookout on the channel. More stuff to come.
Yeah. I'm excited to see your next one.
And I will continue to take the things I learned at Vidsummit and apply it to the channel, which I was excited to go. So we got some rumors to talk about.
Yeah, we're shifting gears now. There's a few cameras on the horizon, a Canon camera, a Sony camera, and even a Fuji camera that are being rumored to come out soonish and or be announced soonish.
Yeah. So this is coming from Canon rumors. We got the EOS R100 potential rumor. Nothing special here. I think this is basically like an R7 or an R10 without an EVF.
Yeah, it feels like it's gonna. I mean, they say here it's gonna be for like beginner vloggers. They're trying to, they're still trying to break into the hey, this is slightly better than an iPhone market.
Yeah,
I think so it'll probably have a tilt screen, no EVF, which is interesting. So I don't know. I guess people don't like EVFs. I personally love it. But yeah, nothing crazy.
You're saving money, so maybe it'll only be if it's like $499 or something.
Do you think they get it that cheap? I think it'll probably be like closer to $800.
Well, the R10 is pretty cheap already. So
what does the R10 go for?
$979. So yeah, like I would $799.
Yeah, I'm thinking $799 that's my ballpark guess for the R100.
You're probably right.
It's gonna have like the LCD. The very angle touchscreen's not going to be that great in terms of resolution, but it will have dual pixel AF and a Digic 10 processor. So those are really good things. 4K, up to 30 FPS, which a lot of people, if they're doing vlogging and they're beginner, they'll probably still only shoot 1080.
Yeah, totally.
And who knows what the 1080 specs will be. So it's definitely an interesting little camera for beginners. Like if you're looking to start up and you got less than $1,000 and you need a camera and a lens, this will probably be a solid option.
Yeah, I'm glad that Canon's kind of doing some boring like cameras in the RF lineup, because up until this point, all the kind of all the Costco cameras, were EFS. They were the Rebels or the T8i. I don't even know how many numbers we're at now.
Right.
So it's obvious to me that like this is not exciting to us as professionals.
Right.
But
to a beginner,
this is big news to a beginner and to the mass market.
Sure.
Remember when we went to CES and we met with a Canon representative? We kind of talked about the M50 because we had a lot of success with the M50 videos.
Right.
And one of the Canon representatives said, this was even, I think, 2 years after it came out. He was like, that's still like our top seller.
Yeah, I believe it too.
On Amazon. So, and I bet it still is selling. Like Grace is still today, which is nuts. That camera's like 5 years old.
Yeah.
Do not buy the M50.
Not now. I mean, there's probably better, newer cameras on the horizon. Even other platforms. Sony has some good options.
Yeah, I think at this point, the ZV-E10 is the M50 replacement because it has continuous recording and it has 4K and all that stuff.
It's a comparable price too, but who knows? We'll see what the R100 goes for. I mean, if they can put it with a lens, a solid-ish lens under $1,000, it'll probably do very well, just like the M50 did. I would love to see more, and I've talked about this a lot even on this podcast. I'd love to see more EFS lenses or RFS lenses. Yeah. Because now they've got this new R100, the R10, and the R7, and of course the C70. Right. But the gap between the C70 and even the R7 is so massive. Yeah, I'm curious what they'll do if all their APS-C RFS lenses will be cheaper. Probably, honestly, to go with the R7 and then now the R100 whenever that releases. But it would be nice to see some nicer top-end lenses. We can I'll save some of this talk for the main topic, but yeah, it's like other companies do have really high quality crop sensor lenses. One of the benefits of having a crop sensor is the smaller, you can make smaller lenses than a full frame lens.
So I just wish that Canon would do that. Sony's done it, Sigma, Tamara, and all those companies.
And again, they made a whole new mount, which means that, yeah, you can adapt all their old lenses, which they have a great lineup of EF lenses and EFS lenses. But it's like if you want to use RF or RFS and future-proof yourself, there's just no options yet.
Yeah. Except for that one little kit zoom, which is pretty trashy.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
So moving on to a rumor that our audience may actually be interested in, compared to the R100.
This is definitely more premium.
The Sony A7R5.
That won't be confusing with the R5.
No, in fact,
Canon.
It was confusing. You said, so I was like on my phone making a list of today's podcast.
Yeah,
and you're like, A7R5. I was like, oh, there's a new R5 coming out. And you're like, no, the Sony A7R5.
Sony's got it going on.
Have you ever used an A7R model before for video?
Not for video. I used the R4 on the Sony Camera Camp. Not the Kondo one, the one back in 2019. And it was pretty cool. We used it for photos and astrophotography.
The R model is just like, I think there's a little bit of sweet sauce on the sensor on that one.
Yeah.
Because it's so tuned for photography.
Right.
This is really their flagship photography camera. And the 5, I can't believe they're on version 5. I feel like they've been putting one out almost every year almost.
Yeah, they're coming out. Well, I guess no, it's been a while since the 4. Honestly, I
reviewed the A7R3, which was the very first version with the new body style with the new batteries.
Right.
And I don't think they've really kind of navigated away from that design very much over the years.
Although I don't know if this rumor is like, if that's not probably a picture of it, So who knows what it'll actually look like. It seems to be pretty early on in the
but it says
rumor scale.
A7R5. We should be seeing it around October, November.
Yeah.
New sensor, mid-90s.
Mid-90s.
That means 90 megapixels. The R has been touted always as the flagship high megapixel camera.
Yeah, not that it came out in the mid-90s. A different thing.
Yeah, that'd be so cool if it was like a PlayStation gray kind of color.
Oh yeah,
and
like original PlayStation,
original PS1, or what's another thing? Like I remember DJI made the Mavic Mini in that same color tone. I really like that.
They did.
Yeah, and if they retrofied, if Sony made like a true Fuji-like retro body, I'd be down.
Sony doesn't have much history in retro cameras at all, right?
No.
They kind of jumped on the scene later.
They'd have to
in
just
the game, so they
engineer
it. They could just make it up. I mean, I'd be down for it. It would be kind of funny if they had like a PlayStation styled camera
because of
and
Sonic.
Like the buttons on the back were like PlayStation buttons and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious.
That'd be kind of hilarious. Yeah.
Or even if they did a limited run of like a PlayStation version of the A7R or something.
Yeah. Like they release 100 units or something. They sell them for like a charity or something.
It's a very Leica thing to do.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. It's like, why don't other companies like Canon, Sony, like do the limited run, like special, like well designed and things that are designed to be beautiful? That's my biggest gripe with Sony and Canon is like,
they're very practical.
They're great in terms of function, but they don't inspire me to like.
And that's why I have Fujifilm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Fujifilm, this is again early rumor, just like the A7R4 or 5 rather. The X-T5 is rumored to be announced here pretty soon. I'm really excited for the X-T5. I have the X-T4. I will definitely be buying the X-T5. And I don't know anything about it other than that it's rumored to have a 40 megapixel sensor, which is pretty nice. But it won't be a stack sensor like the XH2S. It will be just a regular sensor. That'll be to keep the cost down.
I wonder if the XH2, the one that just came out, is that the same sensor, you think? Fuji does that a lot where they use the same sensor.
It could be, unless I don't know if the XH2 is a stack sensor. I think the S is, and the XH2 may not be. So it could be the same sensor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that, this is a 40 megapixel APS-C sensor with 8K video.
There you go. So that'll probably be it. We can probably extrapolate that it'll be similar, just a different form function and probably a little bit cheaper.
Which would be great. I mean, especially if it can do 8K or something. I mean, that'd be interesting.
Honestly, Fujifilm's been, kind of kicking butt lately in terms of like the specs and the image and all that stuff. The problem with Fujifilm is a lot of people don't like APS-C. And then also, I haven't tested the XH2 or the S, but I imagine they probably have similar autofocusing issues as before. It would be interesting to get my hands on one and try it, but
it's so funny that they're selling a fan that you can buy as an accessory to put on the back to help with overheating. At least they're like addressing it. And
they're conscious of the issue. I mean, an 8K sensor and that small of a body, you're bound to have some heating issues.
But I honestly wouldn't be opposed to switching to the Fuji system if the autofocus was a little bit more reliable and the IBIS was better.
Yeah,
for video.
I would love to get I might have to rent an XH2S and just give it a test.
I think the S is really appealing.
Yeah.
As a video shooter.
I honestly don't think it's that expensive for what you're getting.
Yeah.
The specs on it are crazy. They're crazy good. I mean, it's open gate, 6.3K open gate, I believe, which is awesome. Essentially, you're reading out the full sensor instead of just getting the 16:9 image or whatever.
Got full-size HDMI.
It's got new F-Log. So before we had F-Log, now we have F-Log 2. And the color science in Fujifilm is already incredible. So I would imagine, haven't played with it, that it would be very nice to mess with.
Bigger battery.
It just seemed like...
This is like our true pro Fuji camera. They've never really done this.
I guess, no, technically the XH1 was an attempt.
But the S model here with the ProRes and the new...
and also ProRes.
This is a true like video-centric camera, which we've kind of always wanted from Fuji.
And I also heard that the resolution in the EVF has actually been doubled.
Wow.
Because from the XT4 had like a 3 million dot EVF, and this is closer to 6. So
this really is like okay, guys, we're going to just go for it and make a new pro body.
Yeah. And I guess, the thing that people are going to have the biggest problem with, again, is that it's not full frame.
Look at all those custom buttons. There's 7 custom modes.
Holy cow. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to remember all of them.
No. But I would probably use 3 of them.
Yeah, 24p, 30p, 1080, 60, 120, 240.
Yeah.
ProRes.
There is probably a lot of different options there.
If I could remember all of them.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, I need more.
Right. Now I need 10 custom modes.
That's cool. So, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the XT5.
Well, the thing is that there's not too much to talk about. It's just that they think it'll be announced in the next month or so, and then it'll probably release in the springtime if the XT4 is anything to go off of. So
cool.
Pretty exciting stuff. If you're into Fujifilm, if you're a Fuji juicer. You'll be stoked to hear that.
So let's move on to our main topic, which is another camera that is in the APS-C line.
Yeah.
Which is made by Sony, the FX30.
Wow, the FX30. It's here. It looks just like an FX3 because it's the same body. But it's
$1798 body only.
It's a
crazy
APS-C.
Price.
It's cheap. It's cheap for what it is.
It's cheaper than the Fuji XH2 that we were just looking at.
It is, yeah.
Fuji's going to have to probably compete with that.
Not the same specs as the XH2S. The XH2S has a few more features, but what Sony has that Fujifilm doesn't is amazing IBIS with the active steady and all that stuff. I mean, it's incredible. And then, of course, super reliable autofocus.
Yes. And their lens lineup. Fuji has a good lens lineup as well, but Sony takes the cake for sure. I think this is a 4K sensor, right? Nope, it's a 6K sensor, so it's 20.
Is it? So it's actually...
it's a 6K to 4K down res.
Interesting.
Okay. Which is the same as the XH2S.
Right. Close to.
It's the exact same. In fact, I sort of think it's the same sensor because Sony makes Fuji sensors as well.
Oh, interesting.
So there's a theory that this is the same sensor as the...
Yeah, so it's maybe actually a little more than 6K then. They're just saying 6K because it's closer. Because Fuji's touting it as a 6.3K or whatever.
Well, yeah, so Sony is, it's a 26.1 megapixel sensor.
Yeah.
But when you window it and crop it for 16:9, it's 6K to 4K.
Got it.
But Fuji is enabling the ability to use the full sensor in the open gate.
Got it.
Which is where you get the 6.2.
Oh, interesting that it would be the same sensor. I did not hear that. That's cool.
Yeah. So the biggest kind of downfall of this would be, number one, if you want to count APS-C. I don't think it is. I think it can actually be seen as an advantage in some ways. Number two is the rolling shutter performance. Based on the reviews that I've seen and the footage I've seen, the rolling shutter on this camera is not great.
Okay. Like average or worse than average?
It's average.
Okay.
It's not like,
I haven't
oh my
seen
gosh, this is like it's not like the old Sony cameras that were just all over the place.
Right.
But the FX3, or which is also just an A7S in a different body,
Right.
Has wonderful performance in that way.
Right.
Another downside is when you go into 4K 120, it crops in.
Yeah.
So it's already an APS-C crop, and it's a 1.6 crop on top of that for the 120. So basically what it's doing is, instead of doing the 6K down res, it's just cropping in on the sensor to just a 4K because it probably doesn't have the processing power.
Right.
And then one thing that I really like that they did this, and I hope other people learn from this, is this really is truly a video-centric camera. It's in the cinema line.
Right.
So they removed the mechanical shutter, which allows them to make the whole thing much simpler in terms of moving parts.
Like the size of it.
Well, it's actually the exact same body as the FX3. They're just reusing the same housing.
Oh, okay.
But so there's less things to break. But then it also, you remove, the costs come down to us as well in terms of price point. So by removing a mechanical shutter, which obviously I don't know anything about engineering a camera, but I would imagine making sure that the shutter works at the proper shutter speeds, going up and down exactly how it should properly, is probably an expensive and intricate and tiny little thing to deal with.
Right.
So they remove that. So this does take raw stills, which I wish my C70 did that. I wish they would just, even
It doesn't do that.
No, the C70,
Really?
all Canon cinema cameras have the ability to take a raw picture, but they don't give it to you. It's just video only. So at least they're allowing you to switch to a photo mode and take photos, but it is as if you're using electronic shutter.
Yeah.
In a traditional mirrorless camera.
Okay.
So obviously that means any rolling shutter that you would see in the image is going to be in a photo as well if it's a moving object.
Right.
But for most cases, and for somebody who's primarily a YouTuber, all we need is just the ability to take a thumbnail.
Right.
So, and if you're, doing a lot of online content and you're doing maybe some photos for Instagram here and there, although you shouldn't be taking photos for Instagram. Instagram's a Reels account.
We don't need to talk about that.
Instagram isn't for photos, it's for Reels.
Yeah, Instagram bothers me now.
So because of all those things, the cost has been brought down significantly. I think Sony is just kind of purposely trying to, be kind of bullish in the market.
Right, because they can.
And then because it's the same FX3 body, that wonderful little XLR handle works with it as well.
Yeah.
And you can buy it with it, but the cost goes up significantly. It's literally a $400 handle.
Right.
And I don't think it's worth $400 personally.
No, I'd agree with that.
Because
but I guess
I can just use an external recorder.
If you already have the FX3 with the handle, what's great is...
Exactly.
I mean, this is really, this is going to be a great beginner camera. Like, if you're trying to get into the Sony line, specifically in video, this is a great option. It just really is.
I think this is better than buying a Blackmagic camera.
However, yeah. Yeah, probably. I don't like Blackmagic that much, honestly. I mean, like, I just don't like the form factor of Blackmagic. It really bothers me.
Yeah, this is a better form factor. You actually have autofocus. You have a flip screen.
Right.
The image quality is on par.
Yeah. And the FX3 image quality is great. I saw some videos with the FX30 and the FX3, and it seemed very comparable.
Absolutely.
The ability to match them is going to be great. This is going to be a great B camera. I've saw a lot of people talking about that. They're
Absolutely.
like, I already have an FX3. Instead of buying 2 more FX3s or one more FX3, I can just buy one of these. The lenses work. Top handle works. I saw someone talking about the fact that like this is now going to become their like top-down camera, which is great if you can afford it for that. So
it's perfect.
It's a great, perfect little camera. There's not really I don't think there's a solid competition to this camera. It's kind of uniquely placed, which is probably good on Sony's part, because even the R7 from Canon, I don't think that's the R7's a little cheaper than this by about $200, but it's just not a comparable camera. They're doing different things. This has the EVF. Feels more like I shoot photos and videos and I need something in between. Sony's very much going for the video market.
I do like how the R7 has that little, like you go to the on switch here and then you take photos and then you go over to this video mode. So
I do like it too. Nice
to switch between the two, but and the EVF was decent. I had it for about 2 months, and
I like the R7.
It was nice,
but this is obviously more up our alley.
Yeah, and the other thing that I really like, that if we're talking about Canon versus Sony,
might as well,
is Sony does have a really solid APS-C lens lineup. So the conversation would be completely different if Canon had a comparable lens system. So for example, Sony makes a great lineup of APS-C lenses.
Right.
For example, often the problem with using a crop body is you can't get a wide enough shot.
Right.
You know, it's hard to get super wide lenses because usually lenses are made for full frame, and typically 24 millimeters is kind of like wide enough, or you could buy like a 16 to 35.
Right.
But even 16 sometimes isn't even wide enough for crop sensor.
Right.
Well, Sony makes an incredible, and not only that, but it's a 2.8 on a full frame.
Yeah.
Sony makes this wonderful little 11 millimeter prime. It's a 1.8 aperture. It's $500.
Right.
1.8 is super fast, and it's teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Like super teeny tiny. Look at that.
It's awesome.
And then, you know, if you want to zoom, they make a 10 to 20. I know Armando talked about that one.
That's a good lens.
It's got a power zoom, and the FX30.
Power zoom's cool. I didn't think I'd like it, but when I played around with it a little bit, it's kind of fun.
Well, it's kind of
like a camcorder,
humor based. Yeah, you could for punchlines. It would be great for like I make a joke and then you do the digital zoom. That'd be really funny.
You can do that in post production, but this obviously gives you the lens compression, which is nice.
And then this is super teeny tiny as well. So the 10 to 24, the 10 to 20. And then they actually make
bad reviews.
It has really bad reviews actually.
I noticed that. I didn't mind the lens though.
But then they also make like your standard 24 to 70. It's a little bigger, but it's still way smaller than a full frame option. And 16 to 55 is actually what you want for a crop sensor. That is technically 24 to 82, and it's an f2.8, and it's small.
Right.
So that's like, to me personally, I get really weird about like the size. I love the idea of a bigger body to my lens because it balances better in my hands.
Interesting.
I like having a smaller lens that doesn't just cause a bunch of front heaviness to it.
Then you hate the 28 to 70 by Canon.
Oh yeah, it's too big. It's a
chunker, honestly. It is too big. It is.
But then if you get outside of the Sony world and switch to Sigma and Tamron,
right?
They also have, look at this. So we just looked at the Sony 16 to whatever,
which was pretty expensive.
And it was a little big. Yeah. Look at how tiny this lens is. It is absurd how small.
And if you're wondering what we're looking at, it's the 18 to 50 millimeter by, is this Tamron?
This is a Sigma lens.
Sigma.
So you've got the great Sigma optics. It's an f2.8.
F2.8. So that was pretty solid.
The equivalent of this is 27 to 75. So I would be happy compromising on a little bit of less zoom range.
Right. And
to get such a small lens.
You save $500 too.
And you save money. And it's Sigma, and Sigma has great optics.
Oh yeah.
So I love that. And then Sigma also makes, and these have been around forever, these wonderful little, it's a trifecta of lenses here.
Right.
There's a 16, a 30, and a 56. They're all f1.4.
Wow, and you get it all for $1,000.
You can get all three of
It's on
these.
sale right now on B&H. So, hey, if you're looking for a solid set of lenses for your new FX30, this might be a solid pick right here.
Yeah, they're all f1.4. These are also small and compact.
Of course,
these,
you also have the 18 to 35.
Well, you'd have to use an adapter, which would be
They don't have an E mount?
No, you'd have to get an E mount to E to EF or something, and then it's too big.
I didn't know it was EF only.
It's also way too big.
It is a heavy lens, but it's a beautiful lens.
Yeah, and then Tamron also makes an 11 to 20 2.8. Not to mention Sony, even though these are full frame lenses, Sony also makes a whole suite of these tiny little primes as well. So even though these are designed for full frame,
right.
These are still small. So there's a 40 millimeter 2.5. That can go on an FX3. I like how that looks a lot.
Looks really clean.
Almost like a Leica or something. And that's the A7C.
I do like the color of the FX30 and the FX3.
It's the PlayStation gray a little bit.
Well, not quite. It's a
gray.
Much nicer gray than that. It has like a bluish tone to it. It's like a space gray.
Yeah.
It's very nice. I will say.
It's very nice.
Very nice.
So, sorry about the screaming. I don't know if you can hear the
I don't know if that picks up.
But basically, let me get back to our FX30. So basically, like at first when I saw this, I was like, screw it. I'm selling the Canon. I could buy two of these for the price of my Canon setup with some
lenses.
like with a zoom and with some primes.
Yeah.
I'm still pumping the brakes a little bit, but honestly, it kind of makes sense, to be honest. The low light's still good.
Mm-hmm.
You get the color science. I would rather have two of these than one FX3, I think, because the way we work, we just have a lot of angles a lot. This type of setup.
Hence what's happening right here. Yeah.
For example. I mean, heck, I might even be able to, if I sold the Olympus and then those two cameras and all my lenses, I might even be able to afford three of these.
Right.
In addition to a couple lenses. So
you're giving up an EVF though, which I don't know how you feel about that, but to me, that's a deal breaker. Mm-hmm. I love having an EVF. I use it all the time, especially when I shoot outside. I like having it. Now the screen on these are fine, which is great, but I feel like, I don't know why they're not making an EVF attachment.
Yeah.
Like it feels like so obvious, like they could just do that, but they don't, which would bring me to what we talked about before, which was the A7 IV, which I personally think would be a more useful camera to myself. So also, it is full frame.
You could get one of these and then two of those, you know?
Yeah, sure. I mean, and it'll probably match just fine and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. To me, that's still a problem to me.
A7 IV is a little bit more money. It's $2,500 versus $1,790. Yeah. But that might be the move, is you get an A7 IV to be your primary stills camera / EVF camera.
Yeah.
And then you get an FX30 as a B cam to that.
Or hear me out. I keep my R5 because it's fine. And then for my personal setup, I get an XT5 when that comes out. There you go. See, that to me sounds like a better option. Maybe it's like I said, if I, we've talked about this before, if I do get a Sony, like in addition to my Canon, it wouldn't be a substitute. I probably would pick up the A7 IV. I personally like the A7 IV a lot.
All that to say, the FX30, I think, is really exciting for our industry. I think it's a great price point. It's a wonderful, so many people ask me, what do you recommend me get? Like,
and that's a loaded question, and the answer usually changes depending on your budget.
Yes.
But if you are looking in the $2,000 range-ish,
and you're primarily a video shooter,
it's going to be hard to recommend anything besides that.
I know. It
really
crazy.
Is.
For me personally, if money's no object, I think still the FX3 is a better camera, obviously. I mean, It's better in low light. It has less limitations for video. It's also full frame.
Sure.
But it's hard to beat this price point. And for somebody like myself, I kind of obsess about getting a good deal. And I think this is a really good deal.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Sony's coming out with some amazing stuff lately. They really are. They're doing a great job over there. just make an electronic EVF and we'll talk, okay?
Totally. Well,
Electronic EVF, that's redundant.
an electro.
An attachment, an EVF attachment. You get what I mean.
There you go.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of loud.
I failed.
Google can't sell me nothing.
Obligatory soundbite section.
You suck.
Thank you. You suck.
And then,
What's up, everybody?
You got a little Peter in there?
yeah,
A little gear guy.
that's me.
Yeah, that's true.
So transitioning to just a random So we're transitioning now to our post show, which
Yeah.
has
Welcome to
no
the post show, guys.
which has no rules or camera related needs.
Just us hanging, chilling with you guys,
only-
hopefully.
I only have one thing listed. Do you want to talk about it, or is there anything else that you would want to talk about?
I got the Apple Watch Ultra.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
really interesting, actually.
I am not utilizing this thing to its full potential, let me tell you. I plan on it eventually, but as of currently, I've had it for about a week now. And it's awesome. It looks awesome. I'm totally used to the fact that it's mega huge compared to my old watch, but now it just looks normal to me.
Yeah.
After about a week. So if you're
It
worried about
looks
that,
great.
I got the green. I think it's the Alpine band is what it's called.
Can I hold it? Can you take it off and let me hold it?
Totally. Can I hold it, please?
I want to see how heavy it is.
There you go.
It's not as heavy as you think. Titanium.
No, it's the titanium, so it's super lightweight. They tout a sapphire crystal. I'll cover my face so that you guys can see it. They tout a sapphire crystal for the face so that it doesn't scratch. I question that a little bit, if I'm being honest, because they also claim a sapphire crystal for the back of the cameras on the iPhones. And who's the guy that tears things apart on YouTube? That's what he does. He does durability tests and all that stuff.
Oh,
Can't remember his name.
Yeah, I
The
know
name
what
of the
you're talking
channel.
about, but-
Anyways, he does a test where he takes the different hardness scale scratching tools and he scratches at the glass, and it always inevitably scratches before with Sony's sapphire shield or whatever they call it, before sapphire crystal should. So hopefully this is real sapphire crystal, but I like it a lot. The Alpine band is really cool.
This is mine now.
And then now it's Dave. So Dave now owns the. How do you feel after owning it for 30 seconds?
I feel great.
Yeah, I feel good. I will say the biggest thing that I've noticed in the fact that again I'm not using it how I should be is the battery life.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I never have to charge it.
Wow.
I did a
long?
9-hour drive the other day, and I didn't charge it the day before. I didn't charge it during the drive, and I didn't do it on the way back home. So it's 3 days.
Wow.
And it still had plenty of charge. I could have gone a while longer.
That's awesome.
And that's not in low power mode. I could switch it into low power mode and get even more time with it. So it's before.
Ooh, I love that red mode.
Yeah, the red mode. I don't know if y'all can see that, but if you turn the dial, it goes into essentially a mode that won't be as bright if you're out at night and you don't want to disturb everyone with this massive flashlight. Essentially, you can put it into the red light mode.
Wow. It kind of looks so cool too, though.
It does. So the battery life on it is actually incredible. I'll have to get it in the water at some point and try it out. I haven't answered any phone calls on it to see if the microphones are any good. Lots of things to still play around with and figure out, but yeah,
It's as big as this could be your primary phone. The screen's so big.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it is kind of expensive at $800.
For this market though, that's pretty common, isn't it?
But yeah, it's a watch. I mean, people who buy watches, they'll spend $10,000 on a watch that just tells time and then gets out of time over time. So for $800, this thing is kind of incredible. And then once, of course, it gets more utilized for what it's actually supposed to do as the weather gets colder and I actually take it hiking or backpacking and who knows what else, I can actually see how the full potential is with this thing. But for now, 1 weekend, 10 out of 10. I love it.
It actually really does look great on you, and the clothes that you wear match.
Yeah, I
that
wear a lot
style.
of hiking clothes, so I mean, you know, the green band I like a lot. I thought the green would clash with the orange button because the button's always orange, but actually I like it. Looks good.
It's a nice little touch. That it's funny you mentioned the time thing. Like that was one of the features that they touted with the first Apple Watch. It's like
Yeah.
the most accurate timepiece ever made.
Yeah,
Because it's connected to a satellite, so it's like always,
correct.
it's always exactly correct. Yeah.
Although,
so
have you seen the thing where like people have two iPhones next to each other and they'll be like 1 minute off?
Oh no, I haven't.
Yeah, I don't know.
crazy.
I don't know what that's about.
So I just want to end this podcast with a little tangent or question.
Sure.
I've been obsessing a little bit, probably more than I should, when I've been traveling and stuff, when I just have time to kill, about Leicas.
Yeah. You're full into the Leica research right now. I'm wondering if you ever pull the trigger, if you'll just research it forever.
Well, I did sell. I know, I did sell. So I have heard a couple of people talk about how Leicas either pretty much retain their value or go up in value.
That's true.
So even if you purchase a Leica and you decide you don't want it, chances are you won't lose much, or it may even be worth more.
Okay.
So there's always that. So it's sort of like, as long as I don't destroy the camera or it gets stolen,
Yeah.
which has happened,
Keep it under lock and key.
yeah, then it's sort of like, here's some money. I'll just put it aside, and then if I ever need it, it's there, and I can take it back.
Right. It's almost like Leica's holding your money for just a little bit of time
Yeah.
or a lot of time.
So there's, so I just sold one of my stills cameras, the other Olympus.
You did. Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
it sold for about $800, which is great.
Right on.
Which is right in line with what it's worth.
Yeah.
And then I have another Olympus camera, which is worth more. It's worth about $1,500 to $2,000 ish, depending on how the bidding would go. I'm not sure.
Sure.
I do like the images that I take with that, though, quite a bit. And it's very easy to use in terms of the autofocus,
Right.
whereas Leicas are very hard to use and you miss a lot.
Yeah. It's not, it's an art piece almost more than it's a functional camera.
Yeah, and I like the process of it is just very simple and minimal. And there's a lot of people, purists, who actually say that any Leica digital camera is not a true Leica, because the pure Leica experience is a film Leica camera.
Right.
Because you have aperture on the lens, you have shutter speed on the dial, and your ISO is whatever film you put in it.
So you want to
That's
know what I think?
Get the film?
I think I agree. Because digital, man, like digital, it changes so much with the time and the tech. And like what made a Leica camera interesting wasn't the image,
Yeah.
right? It was never the image, because it was the
process.
film. The film you put in was the image. So you got Kodak Portrait 800 or whatever you decide to stick in there.
Yeah.
But you're right. It was the process. It was the feel. It was the handcraftedness of it that made it.
mechanicalness of it.
The mechanicalness of it that made it interesting. I've held plenty of digital Leicas, like through people who have owned them. I'm never that impressed, if
Yeah.
I'm being honest,
Well-
compared to the price.
And I've been toiling over a lot of the images from different models. Like the original Leica M and the M9 had a CCD sensor, which a lot of people say is
Okay.
very film-like, but it's very slow, and it's super old technology. Like we're talking 2004 technology.
Yeah. And I think at that point, like,
It's awful.
I wouldn't recommend getting it. Like the modern ones, like you got the Q2.
Well,
that what it's called?
I was kind of like, well, the Q2 might be a better, more practical solution, but at that point, I'm like, I'd rather just keep my Olympus, because even the Olympus is better at autofocus,
Right.
and so like I kind of feel like I need a practical digital camera,
Right.
to take pictures of the kids.
Yeah. No,
just plain and
absolutely.
simple.
Absolutely.
But for those special occasions, whipping out the Leica, or like if we're going on a trip, like say we're going to Disney World or something, having a Leica around my neck and like taking some really cool.
Yeah. And just being an absolute target in Disney for people to be like, that guy is the guy we're robbing. Yeah, you're right. That's a great idea.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I would be so afraid to take that thing out in public, especially like if I wanted to do like a photo shoot downtown Nashville or something. Like, it's just, you never know who's looking at you.
But so now I agree. I think even the only digital Leica that is any good is the newest one. It actually has great color, great features.
Yeah.
The M11, but it's $8,900.
See, that's my fundamental issue is I feel like for $8,000 with a Leica, with a digital sensor, there's so many amazing other options that do it better.
Absolutely.
That are just not in a Leica housing,
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even touch that.
Cool. I agree. And and those, all the digital Leicas do go down in value. They way faster than the film. In fact, film has gone up.
Right.
So now if we're removing that,
Sure.
which I agree with actually, then it's the film world of Leica. So now there's two options. You can buy a new or newer film camera.
They still make new?
They actually still make the MA and the MP brand new. So you can buy the MP. Now this is not that. You can actually find them cheaper. I've actually found some that are quite a bit cheaper. But this is a brand spanking new Leica film camera.
Wow.
Handmade in Germany.
Yeah.
100% mechanical.
It's back ordered. That's amazing. At $5,595, a film camera is back ordered. That's incredible.
There's nothing electronic in this. There's nothing that will break in terms of electronics.
There's plenty of stuff to break.
There's lots of gears and things. But this is really the ultimate, like, camera.
That's pre-lens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
But you can find these for about 3,000 used.
Okay.
And even I found some in China that are around 35 new.
Okay, so that's the MA, which is a beautiful looking camera.
Yeah. So this
really is.
The MA is the love letter to the M3, which was the camera that I had originally.
Right.
There's not even a light meter on this. So there's no battery at all.
Yeah.
So you'd have to use an external light meter. But it's the purest form of film.
I actually like external light meters with film cameras because I have the Canon A1 and it has that inside and battery and the whole 9 yards. But I personally, I just have an app on my phone. And I like using that as my light meter because I feel like it just feels more reliable because film's expensive now.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that what I'm shooting is going to look marginally good. So I like having the external light meter.
This also comes in a nice matte black, but I like the silver.
I think the silver, when the MA particularly, looks quite nice.
And then this is the MP, which is only $200 more. The only difference is it comes with a light meter, and it's got a more 90s vibe with the leather, which I don't like.
Yeah.
It doesn't look as pretty.
I think the other one looks quite a bit nicer. Even the top of this one here, the MP, if you guys are not hearing that, or you're hearing this, but you're not seeing it, the Leica MP, it's still a gorgeous camera, but it's just not as nice, I don't think.
It's a little more practical because it has a light meter in
Yeah.
it, but that's all it has in comparison. And so I'm like, because this camera, the M3 was what my great uncle used to document my father's childhood.
Right.
And that was what was passed down to me, and then it was stolen.
Right.
And this is Leica's modern. They made this in 2014, and they're still making them. This is truly like a Rolex of cameras because it's handmade in Germany. It's all brass, which nothing is made in brass anymore.
You're spot on with the Rolex comparison because it is so much more expensive than it ever should be. Yet you still kind of are like, I could buy that.
and it goes up in value, or it retains its value.
Yeah. What about speaking of retaining its value? Obviously, this is brand spanking new. But what if you did buy a Leica M3 from the 70s or whatever? What does that look like these days? Are they more?
So this is my problem that I'm dealing with. So let's say I can find one of these for $3,500.
Right.
Okay. So the comparable.
So we're talking like a 2019. So it's a couple years old. MA.
Yeah. So it's got more modern parts. It's cleaner probably because it's only a couple years old.
Probably way more functionally sound.
So for $3,500, I get a newer version, and Leica has actually tweaked this as well. It really is this is all the Leica fanatics.
It's like a Porsche.
the Leica fanatics are saying that the MA is like, this is the best Leica ever made. Like
Right.
they took everything they learned from the 60s on,
Right.
and it's a total love letter to that, and they've refined it perfectly. So this is the perfect Leica.
Right.
In purist ideas.
Right.
To get an M6 or an M3 or like, so an M3, which this is based off of, that is in good working order is like 2,000 or 2,900 ish.
Okay, so you're saving $1,500.
But you're getting a camera that's really old that has more room to break or have to be serviced.
How much would it be? Because I'm assuming Leica, right? Leica probably stands by their product. So how much is it? Do they service it for free because it's a Leica? Or
Not the M3. The
Not the
MA they
M3?
would.
Okay.
Not free either, but they can service it at least. So like so double stroke is the older one. So this is actually 1,500.
That's actually a really
But
good price.
I was looking at like these are
That with the lens?
No. Okay. So that's actually a low serial number. So I would need you have to get there's all sorts of
Here you go.
nerdy things here.
M3 35 millimeter range finder with a 50 mil. That's awesome.
Well, that's with a bid.
Okay, but still, that's gorgeous.
Yes, that's also a low number there. But yeah, that's actually the lens
What-
that was stolen that I had.
What do you mean by low number? Help me out here.
So that anything before 1 million is an older design that they had. Once the serial numbers go up to 1 million, it's a better.
They sold that many.
Oh yeah, they sold it from 1964 up until
So you
or
want-
1954 to 64.
You want a higher number, is what you're saying.
Because it's slightly newer and they tweaked it a bit.
Yeah. What do you know? What the serial number for yours was?
I do.
What
Yeah.
was it? Do you know?
I have
off the
it.
top of your head.
1 million and something. Yeah, it was in the millions. Yeah, I wrote it down. I'll go ahead and say it because if somebody finds it and they listen, please let me know.
There you go.
1,110,797.
Nice.
So my great uncle Bobby, he bought it in 64, paid cash for it.
What did they go for in 1964? Do you know? Off the top
It was
of your
over,
head?
I think it was like 1,200 or something.
So even back then, that's expensive back then.
Yeah. So yeah, 1,200 in 1964 inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah, my uncle. Let's see. There's a calculator. Come on.
Yeah, there has to be.
Whoa, $10,000.
Wow. 11,000. Just about 11,000.
So, yeah, I might be off on the price, but it's probably equal to what a new Leica is, $5,000-$6,000.
Yeah.
You know, or $8,000.
Inflation's wild.
My great uncle never had children. He's always been very good with his money.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that he paid cash for it and did it, responsibly.
Yeah.
He wasn't wealthy by any means, but
He just
was
had
just
some spare change.
yeah, and he wanted to get a good quality product.
That's amazing. Yeah, man. I don't know. For me,
And then the M6 is what everybody kind of says to get, which
Okay.
is it's got a light meter on it, and those are 3-ish thousand.
yeah.
So at that point, it's like, so here's why I'm in my head. I'm like, this came out in the 80s.
Right.
So it's like, okay, this is what everybody has is the M6.
Right.
It was made with cheaper materials as
Right.
well. So it's not brass. It's still a good camera, but it's older. It has a light meter.
I think-
And sure, it is cheaper, but for $500 more, I can get a new like MA, which is the pinnacle.
So here's my unasked for opinion. If it were me, I wouldn't even touch an M6 based
Yeah.
on the information you gave me. Now the M3, however, that would interest me, and I think if I found a solid deal on one with a lens, it'd be hard to pass that up. Right?
Or the M2 as well, which is even cheaper and has better frame lines. The problem with the M3 is it's really only designed for 50 millimeter lenses,
Oh, that's it.
and I like the rangefinder patch here is magnified to a 50.
Yeah.
So like when I put my eye up to the viewfinder, I'm looking at the equivalent of a 50. So if I put a 35 or anything wider, which I like 35,
Right.
I can't actually see that. So you have to put these silly goggles on it.
Okay. I actually have not seen this. I'm not a Leica guy, so
Yeah.
35 millimeter goggles. Look at that.
Yeah. So this little thing attaches to the M3
That's kind of cool though.
which is a wide angle lens on top of the rangefinder.
Look at that.
So that allowed you to shoot with a 35.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's $600 though. Wow, that's kind of expensive.
And then you run the risk of, yeah, I mean, you're right, because I'm not a professional. The thing that I do like about the, obviously spending twice as much on the MA,
Yeah.
is the heirloom aspect. It'll be my camera, and I'll be able. It's because it's fully mechanical.
Fully yours. You're the first owner. That
And
whole aspect.
Pass it.
Pass it
Both
down.
Ryan and Caleb have shown interest in photography, so who knows,
Who
kind of a thing.
Yeah. Whatever's your favorite son. No, I'm kidding.
Caleb has picked it up more, the camera a little bit more. So the M2 actually has 35 millimeter frame line. So the M2 is a better option for,
Yeah.
and the M2 came out after
Ooh, that
the
one's
M3.
been beat up. I think that you bring up a good point. I'm a big like antique history guy. I love things that are old. So I think I would look into the M3 with a lens and see if I couldn't find a solid deal. But at the end of the day, man, you're spending a ton of money. So make sure you are happy with it.
Well, $1,500 I think is a little bit more. I mean, it's too.
Doable.
It still sounds dumb.
It is
to spend that
it is
much
dumb.
money
on a film camera.
Film camera.
Yeah, you still have to buy film, and film's expensive. And you have a film camera
Yeah.
right here. And this is a great film camera, by the way. Do you have the AE one? Yeah, the AE one. I mean, this is a great film camera. It's gorgeous looking too.
Maybe I should just do this. Yeah. And it's easier to focus because it's an SLR.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should just get this fixed up and then just use this for now and then see if I like the process of using a film camera.
Yeah, I think shooting film lately, I have to go out and shoot some more. I have 3 film rolls that are half shot right now, which is not ideal because now I don't know where I wrote on the carton like I'm on shot 10 or I'm on shot, but I kept switching them out that I don't know what I have now. So I might just get them developed, but it's keeping me from shooting, honestly. But I do need to get out and shoot more film.
I think this is jammed. Like I think the shutter's jammed because it's not working.
It won't shoot a shot.
So I have to get it fixed.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, but you could get that service. But
I think even with buying an older camera, it just makes more sense because you're saving $1,500 to $2,000.
Yeah.
So,
or what you do is if it's that big of a deal and the money is that tight, just wait.
just wait.
It'll still be there, and then buy one later.
Yeah.
You don't need this now, you know?
No, I don't.
Exactly. So maybe fix up this one for now, shoot some film shots, see if you're like, oh yeah, this is great, or oh man, I would not want to do this, and then
Yeah.
it's a good option. I really like the Nikon F3 HP. That's the film camera that I want to snag next.
This weird digital.
That looks wrong. You shouldn't see a Leica like that.
But yeah, okay, cool. I'm glad though I discussed the film versus digital because I think there's the buying a digital Leica is kind of weird.
Yeah, I do think that's a little goof for sure. Just because of the price point, like,
And
it doesn't make sense to
the
me.
reason you use a digital camera is so that for the convenience of digital,
Right.
which at that point you might as well use an autofocus camera.
Right.
So
Yeah, there's so many other options for that price tag.
yeah.
That would serve you so much better and you'd be more happy with, even though the Leica badge isn't on it.
Yeah, of course. Well, that was a long tangent, but
Yeah.
that was pretty good because I'm
A little gear guy.
so
True.
Yeah. See you next week.